This is the Page Publishing Book Club. But you knew that as soon as you heard the music, didn't ya? Didn't you, Robbie? How you doing, Rob Barrett's my engineer. Hi, over there, all the way over there. How are you doing? I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini. We are kicking off this show with a big what if. What if we shook up our entire labor system, how we work, how we get paid, and came up with a system that enabled you to have complete control over how you're compensated for what you do. This is something Woodrow Parker pondered for some time, and when his idea took shape, he wrote it down, and now he's published a book called A Cure for Slavery. It's about a public nonprofit central bank that gives everyone ownership of their labor and outlines the problems in our present debt as money system. Woodrow, you've got the floor.
Basically, the current money supply, the way they create money with debt. Basically what happens is the government takes your birth certificate. A certificate is a claim of ownership, and they go to the Fed and they go, look, we can collect so many fees and taxes from this person over their lifetime. Why don't you give us, $650K or $2.5 million a head? And then the Fed goes, okay, and that's how they increase the money supply. If you look at the red number on the back of your birth certificate and then go to a financial website and then search for bonds by number, you can find your birth certificate bond with see what it's like. Usually as an adult, I think when I looked at it, it was like a $2.5 million bond to buy in. So basically the government is selling your labor, right? John Locke nailed it when he said that labor is the source of all wealth. And it's true, because labor, basically money is a metaphor for labor. All the goods and services that you buy are going to be the result of labor. And that's the big secret. So that's the shortfall of having a commodity money supply, is because that promotes slavery, because it becomes a medium of exchange for labor, and the leverage on the exchange is favored in the hands of the person who controls the commodity. And so that's where we have wars and all this other stuff is all about controlling resources. And so it's the haves and the have-nots, right? So you hoard money so that you can buy a lot of labor. You can, a big house takes a lot of time and effort to build. And so basically what I do is I criticize the way things are in the first part of the book. And in the second part of the book, I redesign all the system using all of the same rules that are in place now for this debt as money system. You just make a few small tweaks here and put this one there and that one there. And basically I created a blueprint so that everyone can take ownership of their labor. Like with the birth certificate, the government is basically claiming ownership of your labor. Well, it's your labor, right? So you should have first dibs on your own labor. So I use an idealistic nonprofit central bank, right? A public nonprofit central bank will give you the same deal that the Fed gives the U.S. government. You can come in and say you're a young person and say, look, I'm young. I want to work for 25 years. And the bank will say, okay, we have a 25-year bond available, right? And a bond is nothing more than a promise. That's all it is. It's just a promise. And so this person will sit there 25 years, promise to do something. It's like, okay. And so you sign up, and it's just like a regular bank account, except for you have, your little access card. And then you would also have something similar to a time card app on your phone. And what the bank offers in return for the bond is the ability to fulfill the bond by means of a fair and standard exchange for labor, right? So the nonprofit central bank will basically pay you $40 an hour for your time and effort, because it's a system for people to create a financial platform. Imagine a global labor credit union. I wrote this book for the 99%, and I wrote the book for the Occupy people. The Occupy people and the 99% movement was really great, but they had no direction and purpose. They had no reason. They were just complaining that it sucks, and the people in charge and wanted people to to change it. And this is something that they can push for. This is something that they can push for. And if they don't do this, at least it's an idea to spring from to create other solutions.
Well, it's a very interesting idea. I'll give you that, Widrow. The question is, will someone actually, latch onto it and run with it? Stay tuned, I guess. Kim Boadebo has had some characters dancing around in her head for years and years, and finally, she found the time to put them all together and write a powerful story about abuse. It's entitled The Ultimate Betrayal. Kim.
The Ultimate Betrayal, it's about a woman named Tracy that through poor decisions, she's dealing with a gentleman that's very abusive, and it's her way of how she deals with it, and which is not in a good way. Tracy's in love, and in her mind, love is not supposed to hurt, but she knows it's a lie. It's just that Tracy has made poor choices because she wasn't taught well, and she was on a very, very good course, but being with this man, it went on a downward spiral. So through her choices, she figures he's going to stop. It's if I change myself, he'll eventually stop. And it caused her life to go into a direction in which she's at a point of no return. This was her first relationship, her first love. And she fell head first. She did not have any experience. She's very naive. And she put all her eggs into one basket. And this is over a course of years. It started off beautiful, as we all know most relationships do. But as the years go by, and every time something happens, she's invested so much, she's at a point of no return because she keeps thinking if I should do something different, it's going to make the outcome different. So it's through a course of time that you see her doing different things to try to make the relationship better. But someone with experience, we could see differently. But because she's so naive, and it's a story of suspense, but at the same time, it's a story that has real life situations that we've all been involved in. And I just wanted to put a different spin and just give readers something to think about, to say, if it was me, what would I do? Or, I know somebody that's done this. So that's why I want to just put a little spin on it. The person that abuses her, you will be surprised. It's not who you think it is.
So the person you think is abusing her isn't necessarily the person who is abusing her.
Exactly.
Okay. Do people know that you're now a published author?
Yes, I try to get the word out. I have a Facebook account, and I have Instagram, and of course, through word of mouth, my family. And I have done a book signing locally for one book club, and I tell everybody I'm open to do any book signings anywhere.
There you go.
It has been an awesome experience. It took about a year from writing to completion. But the thing I would tell anybody is be patient. If this is your passion, this is what you love, you stick with it, because seeing your name in print, seeing that book come to fruition is a blessing and an honor, and it is awesome. And it inspires you to do more and set the heights higher. I'm already in the process of writing book 2, but I plan on just continuing this as far as I can take it.
Oh, Kim, that's so nice. It makes all of us here at Page feel good to know that, we've been an inspiration. So thank you. Mark Yastrzemski used to write a weekly satirical column for his local newspaper, and now he's written his second book. It's entitled Poetry for the Family. Now, this is a book he's been perfecting for a decade. I love the description of your book, Mark. It reads like this. You, the customer, can be assured that none of the poems in this collection were genetically modified, treated with pesticides, or given any additives. All were organically grown in the rich, fertile soil of pure West Michigan.
Take a lot of pride on the west side of the state here. As the name implies, some of the poems are purely written, poetry for the family. The family, everybody in the family, from the kids to the adults to the grandparents. Some of the poems are purely written for children. And adults who are kind of young at heart, such as, there's one of the poems in there, it's called I Wish I Were a Fish, and Knock Knock, which are kind of kids-type poems, but even adults get a little chuckle at them. Others have, more thought-provoking themes, such as the one that says looking for God, tolerance, redemption. Many are somewhat edgy, as noted in that disclaimer, which says, you may not enjoy every poem in this book, but like the broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, or liver that you hated as a kid and your mother made you eat just because it might be good for you, the same can be said for these poems. You may not like some of them, but read them anyway because they just may be good for you. I can hear my mother saying that now. Those poems, they kind of speak to saving the environment, respecting differences, understanding each other, and the folly of war. And those poems are kind of the ones that I kind of highlighted were Shadows of Death and One Day Short. Most of the poems are vividly illustrated by nationally renowned artist Steve Gill from Clearwater, Florida. I ran across him at an art fair and showed him what I had, and he said, yeah, maybe I can help you out here because what they seemed to be lacking was, you want to get kids to read books. So I thought maybe if I could put some kind of funny caption pictures on here, that might be more helpful. And that Steve was a really great help. All of his illustrations are fun. The kids will look at them and they'll say, oh, what's this poem about here? So that's why I kind of got him to do that. And, you asked, what are these poems about? Well, the central characters, they kind of tend to be animals, birds, fish, insects, and how they relate to us humans. I think there's a growing amount of anecdotal evidence that points to the so-called lower forms of life actually being more intelligent than most of us in the human race. This is kind of the opposite of what we've been led to believe, but in looking at how humans interact with each other and how they've treated our planet for generation after generation, and the evidence clearly suggests to me that the higher form of life are the animals, birds, fish, and insects.
Do you do poetry readings anywhere?
Never. This is way out of my bailiwick, I tell you. The poetry was. I normally write, stories about life and stuff like that. So poetry is a new challenge for me. The poems are just out there. If I sell a poem, I'll be shocked if anybody wants to even buy this book. But I'll give some of these books to my friends in our skating club. And the kids will enjoy them, I'm sure,
Okay.
and to friends and neighbors.
All right, Mark. Well, the good thing about your attitude is you have absolutely no expectations whatsoever. So if somebody buys your book, or if a lot of people buy your book, you're good with that. It'll all be a great surprise to you. Thanks so much, Mark. And we've got to take a quick break, but we are coming right back. This is the Page Publishing Book Club. Don't go anywhere.
Have you written a book and want to get it published? Then now's the time to call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099 and do it immediately. You see, they're looking for authors of all types of books. And unlike most publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review most of the books submitted to them. And they'll even give you their feedback. And if they like what they read, Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, and other outlets. They'll handle everything: copyright protection, printing, cover art, publicity, and editing. So if you've written a novel, a children's book, a cookbook, inspirational work, a book of poetry, or biography, and want to get it published, then you need to call Page Publishing and do it immediately. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. Your road to fame and fortune could very well start with this simple phone call. For your free author submission kit, call Page Publishing at 800-204-6099.
We're back on the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini. And Dragona Georgieva did some writing in college. And being a late bloomer, that was around the age of 50. But it was after her divorce that inspiration hit her to write about women she met throughout her life, struggling with abuse, neglect, and betrayal. The name of her book is Perseverance of Yesterday's Women. Dragona.
So essentially what I'm doing, Alice, is this. I'm talking about my life from young childhood in Serbia and the disruption when I came here, and through mores and traditions, I line up with my mother's story because I realized I repeated her story, picking the wrong man and that kind of thing. So
Oh.
then I try to use an educational concept like Erickson's stages that help me line up what should my childhood basically look like, and what did it look like, and what did my marriage do to undo all of that, and how can I recover what was good versus what was terribly painful. So that's how I wrote my book. Is it's about a lifetime up to 70. And my mother's story, she got married for all the wrong reasons, and in her efforts to prevent that, which is how I started thinking of yesterday's women, I actually repeated the terrible ways of living. So that's what my story is about.
Okay, so there is a story and it's your story. And you start with your childhood and you move into your adulthood and you move into your marriage. And then when your marriage failed, you went on this exploration of women and similar experiences that we share. Is that what I'm getting from you?
Perfect. Yes. I sat in silence, and as I started to relive each moment, I described it in my simple conversation. So it's like I'm telling a friend a story. So many things that I wanted to share. I was 10 when I came to this country. So it was very disruptive. My mother was married to a stepfather that beat her and that kind of thing. Disrupted. I had known language. And I talk about the foreign children and the impact that teachers had on me to make me catch up to things, and so that I can ultimately graduate from high school and ultimately be an intelligent person. And then at the same time, when I went to high school, my mother, our religion and our Serbian religion and mores were virginity was everything. Well, she overprotected me and made me so naive that eventually when I met my husband, he kind of date raped me. I described that event so that I wanted to show young women, or the women that may be in a similar situation. At that point, I became worthless in my mother's eyes, or mine. But then it kind of addresses what happens to women. How are they affected through various mores? And it cost me 27 years to make that determination what to do about that. So what I try to share with women, think about it, be honest with yourself, make a plan, and then give yourself a time that you can actually get out of this whenever you can. And so when I went to college, the Erickson theory gave me all these steps so I can go back to Yugoslavia, where I came from, recapture my good childhood, recapture what went on, what my self-worth was, what were my successes, how can I organize this garbled 27 years of struggling with myself and my kids. How did I divide my life? How did I protect the 1/3 of developing myself instead of ruining myself, and still have 1/3 of my life be good with my children? And then that way, when I divide my life in this theory that I give, only 1/3 was out of order. Otherwise, it would have all been crazy. So there's so much going on in this lifetime. Come with me and in the journey of your own learning. Come and learn about yourself.
Okay, I'm coming, Dragona. Thank you. You're sharing your story to help others, and I don't know what's better than that. Matthew Pitts is an artist, and in his words, he was at a dead-end, mindless job when he was inspired to write Sketch the Cat Artistic Adventures Volume 1, Shapes and Shading. How long have you been an artist, Matthew?
15, 20 years.
And you just discovered Sketch.
Yes. I wanted to create something that, I could pass down to my kids. So basically, this is the beginning of a series of books. So I have to start out in the beginning with shapes and shading, but in volume 2, Sketch will teach kids how to draw faces and human bodies. And then after that, the series will take kids down into different adventures, going to a farm and learning how to draw farm animals, or taking a pirate boat and learning how to draw sea life, things like that.
And you're basically motivated because you want to pass something down to your children.
Yes, ma'am. I have one, and he is 4 months old.
So the baby, see, babies do that. They inspire you.
Yeah, he's so great. And so in the books to come, I also want to teach kids little things such as manners and respect and that sort of stuff. And then the reason that it's adventurous is because the kids that aren't interested in learning how to draw can follow the adventure as well and still be entertained by the characters in the book.
So, what are the characters in the book?
Sketch Cat is the main character. His best friend is Buster the Bee, and Buster he stutters words with B. So only B words Buster stutters. And then there's Sketch's love interest, and her name is Dolly, like Salvador Dali. And in the books to come, I'll also introduce other characters such as Andy Warhol. There will be a horse in volume 3 named Warhol. And in volume 4, there's Captain Botch. So then it kind of brings in some actual art history
Right.
also into the books. Sketch basically takes Buster to the park where he meets Dolly, and they learn about shapes and shading. The second book is mainly a rainy day, and his mom won't allow Sketch to go outside and play, so he stays inside and teaches kids about drawing faces and the human body. And then volume 3, Sketch goes to the farm and teaches kids how to draw chickens and pigs, and of course Warhol the horse.
So you don't necessarily, to buy your books, to enjoy your books, you don't necessarily have to sketch, because there's a cute little story there too.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well,
Exactly.
are you hoping to become a famous sketch artist author?
I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'll ride the train as far as it goes. If it fizzles out quick, then there's no feelings hurt, and if it carries on to be bigger and better things, then great.
Well, I mean, do you teach children? Do you go into schools? Do you have little sketch classes for kids?
Not yet. That's actually a pretty good idea.
And then you sell your book as their workbook.
There you go. That's a pretty good idea.
See, I got your career going already, man.
Now I'm taking notes from you.
We aim to please. Finally, for anyone who's ever adopted a dog from a shelter, Joan Lucas has a story for you. The name of her book, Jackie, A Dog's Tale.
It's about my precious dog that I adopted from a shelter, and I didn't know that she was very well trained, and I had to take her to class so I could learn.
She was trained, so you needed to be trained.
I needed to be trained, and she put up with me. She knew the commands, and she knew what to do. I didn't. So the dog and I would go to class, and then we would spend the week working together. And what I didn't know, Alice, is that a dog has to, within themselves, agree that you are a person that they wish to follow your command. I never knew that. The dog doesn't necessarily have to follow you unless the dog likes you and wants to follow you. I never knew that.
Yeah, dogs are they have very strong sense of people.
I tried to imagine why this amazing dog ended up in a shelter. She's a deliberate mix of golden retriever and Australian cattle dog. She was in a kill shelter, and someone at the shelter must have recognized that she was trained, and she's so very sweet, and she is very smart. And they brought her over to the no-kill shelter, and they'll keep the dog forever. And I had volunteered some time, and that's how I met Jackie. I took her out for a walk one day, and I just absolutely fell in love with her. And you could see that the reverse was true. The dog and I just hit it all off. So one of the things that I do say in the book is there was nothing left for us to do except adopt each other.
Oh.
I had several dogs before Jackie. They just weren't trained, or they were trained just to maybe sit for a minute and then walk away.
Right.
But Jackie's really beautifully trained. And I also adopted 2 cats.
Oh,
So the
geez.
2 cats are also in the book.
So what made you feel compelled to write about Jackie?
I needed money, Alice.
You needed money.
I needed money. I was living in the San Bernardino Mountains at the time, and going down the hill in ice and snow in winter to a job probably wasn't terribly practical for me. Years ago, I had gotten a book called What Color is My Parachute?
Yes.
And, well, I used it, and I got myself a brilliant job as a trainer for Budget Rent-A-Car. And
Do you love it?
Totally.
That's great.
Totally. I went back to the thoughts about the book, and of course, What Color is My Parachute encourages you to look at what you loved to do as a child. And I knew that I was good in English, that I was good at writing. And here I have this marvelous dog, Jackie, and I began to write about her. And I needed money. So hopefully people will buy my book, Alice, and my dream will come true.
Well, all I can say, Joan, is you don't know. Joan, all I can say is you don't know until you put it out there. So it's out there, and hopefully you can promote it at dog shelters and maybe vets' offices and to dog lovers like yourself and see what happens. But I gotta say, writing a book purely for money probably is a stretch, all right? I mean, let's be honest. It's like people who drop everything to become actors. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It definitely happens. It definitely happens. Look at J.K. Rowling with her Harry Potter books. I mean, the woman was almost homeless, and now she's a multimillionaire. Rodney Dangerfield was a middle-aged car salesman when he decided to try comedy. Yes, it happens, but not very often. You got to be really, 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 really lucky. So probably your best bet is to write books because you love it and because you really wanted to do it. Always wanted to do it. And most important, wanted to be on this show. Am I right, Rob? Who doesn't? And that way, anything else that comes along is gravy, right? All right. Have a great day, great week, whatever you're doing, and we will see you next time. I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. This is the Page Publishing Book Club.